You know what's even better than an FN 509 with sweet 24 round fun sticks to dispense to a Pez? The new Apex Tactical long slide for your FN 509. Does anybody else seriously have problems with their sleeves not being long enough all the time, or is it just me? All right, everybody, so I got something for you today in the way of the Apex FN 509 long slide full package. All right, so Apex is running batches of their 509 long slides again. And I know FN has their own long slide version now, but this one's quite a bit different because it gives you all of the trimmings and the parts that Apex is known for when it comes to the FN 509. We get with the 509 slide from Apex Tactical. With this Apex long slide here, you are getting a blank that they make in-house. They're not outsourcing these slides. They're doing it all in their factory here in Arizona. You're gonna get that long slide, of course, with all of the serrations and the windows and the optics cut that you're gonna want. You're also gonna get that Apex barrel. It's gonna be really tight on those SAMI specs and really do you competition guys a good thing. Of course, you're gonna get the Apex Striker, the Apex Extractor, and an upgraded Apex spring kit because this comes as the complete package. And of course, you're gonna get that Apex thread protector and the Apex optics cover plate so you can determine which optic you wanna go with and run that plate until you figure that out. And when it comes to these slides, you're gonna have several options. They've got the black melanite coating, they've got an FDE version, and they have that sweet gray NP3, which is super easy to clean, got some really nice lubricity properties. It's a little bit more expensive. You also got some options between sights and I think a regular barrel and a threaded barrel. So those are all going to determine how much this thing is going to cost you should you be interested. And if you are interested, I'll have links down below for you and at the build list, you can check those out. Well, now that you know what the Apex Tactical long slide looks like and everything you get with it, let's check out some of that range footage and then talk about the why. And of course, that question we all want to know, the cost. I'm long and I'm strong and I'm down to get the friction on. Name that song. I tell you what, that long slide absolutely changes the feel of how this thing performs out on the range. That recoil impulse is definitely far easier to handle when you've got that much slide going on. So let's address the why. Why would you want to do this? Why would you want this big long slide on here as compared to the factory one right there? You can see you've got about an extra inch. Well, if you're curious, ask the competition guys because they love the long ones. And that's not meant to be a dirty joke. They really do love long slides because they're looking for tenths of a second. Anything they can get to put them in front of the person behind them, any amount of performance. When you get a longer slide like this, it's gonna be easier to control that recoil impulse because of how that mass is gonna be working on this thing. You're also gonna get a little bit more of a sight radius. So the more distance between your sights, the more accurate you can be. Now, ultimately, it's gonna come down to you, the end user, but ask competition people if they would prefer to shoot a subcompact or compact as compared to a big long one, just like this. Trust me, they ain't gonna pick a short one. Now, depending on which FN 509 that you have, you're obviously gonna have the option to run whatever optic you want on here, and then attach a muzzle device in here, whether you're gonna run this thing suppressed or with a comp or whatever else you decide to screw on the end of your barrel. This is gonna give you the option. Say you already have a 509, you don't wanna run out and buy the long slide version that FN made themselves. You can just buy an actual slide and run that thing how you want. Say you're gonna run competitions on the weekend, but you wanna run concealed carry during the week, you put your factory slide back on. So it opens up some options for you. As far as the looks and the performance of this thing right here, you know Apex does it. They do both. Apex has one of probably the best reputations for aftermarket triggers and parts, especially when it comes to the Glocks. They are one of, I think, only 2 companies that I know of personally where their triggers are actually authorized for use by several different government entities. That says a lot, being that that's an assumption of liability. So when Apex makes something and they test something, and you can see they're testing things online, they go further than a lot of other companies out there. Now, when it comes to the overall looks, of course, it's not everything, but if I had some slow, sexy jazz music, just take a good long look at that thing. It's a looker. It's gonna do everything you want as far as the looks category with the serrations, the window cuts, all of that good stuff. So how much is this gonna cost us? What is the pound of flesh for the long slide? And it's gonna be right at 700 bucks. And I know some of you may be set back by that, but let's talk about why something like this, again, complete package, throw it on there, go to work on the range, would be 700 bucks when people are probably saying, well, I can get Glock slides for like 250 or 199 bucks sometimes. And the dirty little secret to that is when it comes to Glock slides and Glock barrels, all these companies offering those, for the most part, they're not making their own barrels or slides. There's only about 2 or 3 companies that are making those in mass. And then those companies buy those barrels or slide blanks. Some of them are made overseas, some of them are not. And then they just kind of put their own logo and their own machine cuts and all there in that. There are very few companies actually making and milling their own slide blanks because it's extremely difficult and the machines to do it are ridiculously expensive. I can assure you Apex makes every part of that besides the actual springs in-house, and I think the sight. So I've seen their operation, I've seen the little robots working in there, and they're making the slides, the barrels, they're making all of that stuff right in there. Besides, like I said, some of the springs, and I think maybe the striker block safety, I think that might be a factory one from FN, but they're doing just about all of that thing in-house. So there's no outsourcing, there's no overseas parts, it's all right here. So when in doubt, Apex it out. All right, so I'm gonna do my best to answer a question that I get asked a ton on different things from triggers to slides to barrels. Is it worth it to do the Apex slide on here? That's a very subjective question because it has to be worth it to you. It's a $700 slide, and that's not a small investment. However, here is how I kind of look at it. Do you want it? Can you afford it? And is it something you're gonna put to use? Because there are things that I buy, I love, and I enjoy that other people look at me like I am crazy for buying. And I in turn do the same thing to other people like, man, I wouldn't buy that if I was you. But it's something they wanted, something they were gonna put to use, and ultimately they were happy with their purchase. So when it comes to, is it worth it? Well, it has to be worth it to you. Now, if you're interested in something like that, I would say Apex is the way to go. I don't make a cent off them for doing this video. They just have an extremely good reputation. I've seen their operation. They're really good people. And at the end of the day, they're not gonna put a bad product out there, and they're gonna price it as aggressively as they can. So when they say 700 bucks, they're making money, but they're not making a ton of money. But at least now you know the long and short of it on the Apex slide. And yes, that's a bad long slide joke for you to make fun of me for. Well, that's what I have for you all today. I hope you guys liked seeing the 509 long slide and learning about Apex's operation a little bit more. Check those links out down below if you are interested. Make sure you get subbed up. Leave me a comment down below. Do you even like the 509? It seems some people love them and other people's just absolutely hate them. You guys get out there on the range and have some fun. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you guys on the next one. That's like the 5th or 6th one out of this thing of Bellum ammo, where it's like dimpled the primer, but it goes on the second hit. Craziness. Did that in the Glock too. There's something up there like 300 yards away. Probably not gonna happen. Oh, I'm just right under it.